How do you make sure you don't overpay for a property and don't let fear of overpaying paralyze you from taking any action? How do you make sure you don't suffer, or that you're not one of the many people who suffer from buyer remorse because they let their emotions take over during the bidding process? Whether the market is going up, down or sideways, this video will try help to make sure that you do not overpay for that property you're looking for. First off, recently this channel has received over 10,000 subscribers. I want to thank you all for your support. It really does mean a lot to me. It's taken me a long time to get to here, so please continue to show your support and subscribe to the channel. I do love to hear your feedback, so let me know in the comments below. But when it comes to buying a property, sometimes you do have to get into a bidding war, and sometimes you have to negotiate with an agent or the owner, and sometimes you perhaps are the only bidder. But how do you make sure that you're not letting fear take control of you or your emotions take control of you? And how do you make sure that you're not overpaying for a property? Buying a house doesn't have to be overly complicated. It's more important to focus on the things that you can actually control. Don't overcomplicate the process by trying to become a financial or legal expert. You don't have to learn everything. By trying to learn everything, you actually put up more and more roadblocks in front of you, and the likelihood is you're going to delay the process of actually bidding and buying a property, and the likelihood is the market's going to move on and values are going to increase even further. One of the first things you can do to set you on the right track is to set up a team of experts. You don't have to learn everything. As I said, the important thing is to focus on what you can actually control. If you are building a house, you don't want to learn everything about plumbing or electricians. All you really want to know is that the shower works. It's the same when it comes to buying a house. You don't need to know absolutely everything. Build a team from your mortgage broker who will help you with your financial questions. Your solicitor will help you on the legal side, and get a surveyor lined up so you're ready to survey properties when you put bids on them or when your bid is accepted. But by building a team that you trust, it allows you to actually focus narrowly on what you can actually influence. And one of the main things, or one of your main jobs, is to see and bid on as many properties as you possibly can. Your goal is to get yourself in a position to bid on as many properties as you can, because if you're not bidding on it, you can't win it. It's kind of a little bit like dating. If you don't match people on these apps and you don't go on dates, you'll never find the person that is the one. And it's the same when it comes to properties. You need to view as many properties and place as many bids as you can to try find and buy that property you're looking for. When you are buying a house or any property, you need to know the market, and that is where your time should be spent. It's vitally important that that's where you spend the most amount of your time, learning about the market, and that's where your time is best served for you as well. You don't have to become a financial expert, you don't have to become a legal expert. The best place to put your time is to get to know the market. And this is really important because it doesn't matter if it's a buyer's or a seller's market or the market is just stagnating. It's important to keep up to date on trends because it will influence your bidding strategy for these particular types of properties. There is one great way to keep up to date with trends and property prices, and the following is not it. Lots of media will refer to the CSO sold prices and average prices, which indicate prices sold or completed about 2 months ago or so, but a lot of those prices are actually probably from 6 months ago because they'll have been agreed about 6 months prior to that. Indexes can be very helpful when you're looking at an overall market, but they're not very reliable when you're looking at a local market or an individual property. From a valuation standpoint, indexes are at the absolute bottom of the list when it comes to the hierarchy of evidence. Indexes can be referred to within valuation reports or can help form a view, but they can't be relied on as part of your evidence. All valuation textbooks that I'm aware of, even the red and the blue book on international standards for valuations, don't even mention indexes, average prices or average sales prices, because they're not a good way to value or provide value for an individual property. Media also like to use asking price trends as a guide. I find asking prices to be even a worse way to look at individual valuations for property. Asking prices don't even form part of a hierarchy of evidence from a valuation point of view. Indexes or average asking price trends can send you in the wrong direction in a very bad way, particularly in a market where volumes of transactions on properties being sold and being listed can change from up to 20% month on month. If I was to go into a valuation or a commercial rent review tribunal and I was to quote indexes or asking prices, I'd be absolutely laughed out of it, because they're not a reliable way when you're looking at an individual property. It is important to remember that the media do love to quote average asking price trends, but it is important to remember that you are looking at an individual property, not the entire market. It's like looking at the S&P 500 to value a share of an individual company. That serves absolutely no purpose, because the S&P 500 is based on the average, where an individual company could be way higher or way lower depending on where they sit within that 500. So the same can be said when it comes to properties and local markets. So how do you know you're not overpaying for a property? Your job is to look at individual sales prices. When looking at average asking prices and sold prices within an area, more recent sold prices are more reliable than the asking price, and there's a few reasons for that. The asking price might be a marketing ploy, or might be the owner putting their worth on top of the market value for a house, and worth is personal, where value is what the market will pay for it, and sometimes people's asking prices reflect the worth, not the value. Okay, let's see if I can pick up from where I left off. I got attacked by some bees and my battery died, so let's see if we can pick up from where I left off. So I think I was talking about asking prices and prices. So while asking prices include a host of factors, a sold price equates to a willing seller and a willing buyer, and it is evidence that can be relied on by both parties, even if it is 6 months old, because if both parties know a house on the street sold for X a few months ago, the seller is unlikely to accept less than that anytime soon, and a buyer is probably unlikely to want to pay too much more than that as well, assuming all things are equal. So how do you go about knowing what the real up-to-date data is for your local area? This is the kind of key way to do it, and it is the one main way to do it, and it is attend as many viewings as you possibly can and bid on as many properties as you can as well. And I don't mean going out and bidding on every single property that you don't even want or can't even afford. I mean bidding on properties that match your criteria and your terms, and being active within your market. Being active in your particular market is the best way for you to keep up to date on pricing. As open viewings are becoming more and more of a thing, attend as many as you possibly can in your chosen area. Take notes on how many people are actually attending and showing up. See who's hanging around, because if they're hanging around for longer, it's likely that they are considering to make an offer. And it is important to also engage with your local agents. Ask them as many questions as possible. Show that you are interested. Ask them, have they sold anything in the area recently and what prices were achieved, because that might be the best evidence that you get. If you do speak to local agents, there is a good chance that they will give you details on recent sale agreed figures as well as sold figures well before they become public record, and they might even tell you how many bidders were involved and what type of active bidders there are out there, because agents love to talk about their success, so ask them questions about it. Better still, if you are bidding on a property, it's likely that you're going to get even further insight into the market, i.e. how many bidders are actually bidding on each type of property, who you're going up against, and how many of them are cash bidders, etc. I do remember, goddamn spiders, but I do remember back in college or just after college, it was pretty much the norm for agents to ring around and ask other agents about recent sales data. And it's Still very common on the commercial side as well. Commercial agents have to maintain good relationships with other commercial agents so they get the most recent data on sales and lettings, so they have that details for valuations and rent reviews. Agents rely on other agents to keep them informed on current local market trends. There are websites that agents use as well on the residential side, from IPI and Property Week, but having a network of agents providing up-to-date market trends is vital to understand local markets. Those who are looking for more details from market reports, I think Property Week do provide a local market report that goes into more detail than what you can find on the property register, and I think you can buy them for about €5 per local market. But you can't beat bidding on properties yourself and talking to local agents. This way you will make sure that you're up to date on market trends within your local area well before the average sales price index is released or the average asking price report is published. And remember that you are looking at your local market, because that might trend completely different than a national trend. So it is important to separate both as well. So let's assume you now have some insight into your local market that you're looking into. How do you make sure that you don't overpay? At this stage, you should have details on a number of recent sales, including the size of that property, the number of bedrooms, the condition, the garden, the car parking, the orientation of the house. And you should have seen a lot of these properties in person yourself as well. You can then work out what the average price is for your local area or the street that you're looking at and see what way it's trending. You can see what the highest price might be and the lowest price might be, and work out what the price per square foot is in your area, and factor in things like garden condition and car parking and so on. When you are next considering putting a bid on a house or viewing a house, you should be able to work out what a good rate per square foot would be on that property before you bid, and you'll also be able to consider what the top bid might be for that particular property. And when you go and look at it, you have a very good idea what the top bid might be. Therefore, when you view it and after you view it, you can write down what your top bid would be, write it down, put it away somewhere, make sure you don't go over it. But if you know you get something less than that, you know you got a good deal and you haven't overpaid for it, and hopefully you will avoid buyer's remorse. Residential sales and valuations is all about comparable evidence, i.e. what a similar property in the area sold for. When it comes to commercial property, there are a number of different methods to calculate the value of a commercial property, but you can adopt some small elements of the commercial valuation methods when you are looking at residential properties. So one straightforward method would be the investment method. You can build up some local data over time to help you with this, but look at what properties sold for and what rents were achieved for similar types of properties as well. You can divide the price that was paid for the property by the annual rent and divide that number by 100, which will give you a yield. Once you collect a number of these sales, you'll be able to work out what the average yield is for your area. So if you are bidding on a property, let's say it's 400,000, and you know you might be able to rent that property out, or similar properties in the area have rented out for 2,500 per month or 30,000 per year, you're getting a gross yield on that property of about 7.5%. If the average yield based on your kind of data that you've collected is 6%, you know you're getting a good deal on that property. But if the average yield in your area is 9%, you know you're overpaying for that property based on the investment method of valuation on this property. So therefore you're overpaying for that property. Knowing the average yields within a market and knowing what yields you're paying for a property can give you some comfort that you're not overpaying for property, regardless if you ever plan to rent it out or not. Hopefully you can hear me over all these birds that are chirping at the moment, and I'm coming across reasonably clear. But another valuation method that you could consider is the construction method. It's simply the cost it would take to build a property plus land costs and associated fees. Construction costs may vary depending on location and design, but the SESI website do have a helpful tool on rebuild costs, which can be used or helpful in this exercise, as well as buildcosts.ie have a very detailed, up-to-date summary on current build costs as well that you can use to help you in this. But when you factor in the build cost and land costs in an area, planning permission fees, architectural fees and professional fees, in a lot of cases you will get very close to what you are actually paying for the property, and this again gives you some comfort that you're not overpaying. If there are considerable differences between the construction costs and the property price that you're paying, and the land costs and associated fees don't make up the difference, there's a few reasons for this. Perhaps it's a very unique property or a unique location, or in a luxury location, or in a location where it's very difficult to get permission to build, and therefore there's a premium paid for already built properties. In a lot of cases right now, with construction costs so high, the construction method may actually result in a higher valuation than the price of the actual property, meaning that you wouldn't be able to build a new home in that location for the price that you're actually paying for the property. And again, this can help or give some buyers some comfort that they're not overpaying for the property. When it comes to residential real estate, the comparable method is the most reliable valuation method. But you can pull from some commercial methods like the investment method as well as the construction method in terms of valuation to help you confirm what the price might be, give you some extra comfort. And even both of these methods can be used or give you an idea if there is very low volume of sales within an area. Both of these methods can help you figure out what an appropriate bid is as well for that property. It is important to remember that the most valuable use of your time when you are looking to buy a property is to get out there and see as many properties as you can and bid on the appropriate properties as well. Gather as much information as you can from local agents and leave the legals to the solicitors. As always, I just want to thank you for watching. I'm coming from a different location here today on a little bit of a retreat in Cape Cod. I hope you enjoyed watching. It's beautiful to try and make videos outside, but it is a lot harder with the sun, etc. now coming down on top of me again. But if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching and happy house hunting.